we have a weather event coming up. National Weather Service says for our area, there is a winter storm watch. Checking in right now from the White Lake office of the National Weather Service is Trent Frey, meteorologist. Trent, I got one of your maps up here. I think you can probably see it on the screen. Hopefully I grabbed a good one. What the heck is all that stuff telling us this morning?
Yeah, so all the colors on that map are showing us there's all kinds of winter hazards out there upstream of us. We've got some winter storm warnings, looks like a blizzard warning for western Minneapolis. And for us here, we're still sitting on a winter storm watch until we upgrade that either to a winter storm warning or a winter weather advisory, depending on what we're looking at over the next couple forecast cycles here.
All right, I could probably improve that and zoom in a little bit here, and I'll try to do that while we're chatting. But tell us what you know about this. You know, we see, and we've seen the maps here on TV, and we understand that we're right in the edge. I mean, we may get snow, we may get rain, and then there's that pink stuff, which always scares people. Can you tell us a little bit more about what might be happening?
Yeah, so we're going to see this sprawling low pressure system come in tomorrow. And from the afternoon hours into tomorrow evening into tomorrow night, we're going to be looking at a mix of rain, freezing rain, and potentially some sleet at times. But it looks like rain and freezing rain are going to be kind of the two main players for us for the metro area tomorrow. So what that means is we could see a trace to up to a tenth of ice accumulations for a lot of the area. Some localized areas that see heavier rates could see up to 0.2 of an inch of ice. And these amounts could certainly lead to some travel issues, some very icy roads, some down power lines and tree branches, some scattered power outages, things like that. So, you know, snow is not really in the cards for this one, but certainly some impactful winter weather regardless.
All right, Trent, I don't have my micrometer here in my pocket. So what what does a tenth or 0.2 of an inch of ice? What does it do? And is that a lot? Is that a little? And you know, I hate to ask three questions at once, but is that is that a significant ice event?
Yeah, it's certainly you know, more than our standard, you know, light glaze of ice. But for reference, an ice storm warning criteria would be a 1/4 inch of ice, so 0.25. Whereas this event we're calling for more of a trace to 0.1, with some localized areas up to 0.2. So looking like right now we're going to come in below that ice storm warning criteria, but still, like I said, could bring down some tree branches, some power lines, and cause some kind of isolated to scattered power outages, and certainly some slick roads as well.
So, you know, it's got to be tough for you guys because I know you are a scientist, so you look at the scientific data and make your best forecast and do the best you can. But, you know, we get some of these forecasts, they come in and we expect all the snow and we get almost nothing. And then we get some other forecasts where you under forecast it. You know, how do you decide? And do we go beyond the science a little bit here and get into some judgment and personal evaluation? Or is it all just, hey, this computer says, this weather that you're looking at right now dictates that this is exactly what your weather forecast is going to say?
Yeah, so I mean, a forecast like this, we take hundreds of different model runs into consideration, you know, not just today's latest runs, but runs leading up to it that give us kind of a context of how the system's evolving over time. And, you know, obviously there's a lot of forecaster judgment that comes into that. You know, we've got people on the forecast desk today who have been here for, you know, 20, 30 years who have, you know, many Michigan winters under their belts and have seen similar scenarios before. So, you know, forecaster judgment's a big part of it, but a lot of it is letting the models do the talking and, you know, guide us to what our thoughts are.
This radar that I have on right now, I assume that is a relatively live radar image of the state of Michigan. And
Yes.
and is that snow that's coming toward us or rain? And do you think that'll make it to our area today?
So it's looking like some light rain, some light snow as well. It's probably going to brush our area, but for the most part, it looks like it's kind of gaining that lake component from Lake Michigan, so it might just fizzle off by the time it reaches us. But we do have a cold front inbound today, so that could be just kind of a brief period of lighter precip.
Trent Frey is joining us from the White Lake office of the National Weather Service. Trent, you're a good guy. Always respond quickly to our requests to come on the program. How has this winter been? It seems to me like it's been a little bit more mild than we typically would expect. We've had a couple of winter weather events, but for the most part, I've been walking around and even riding my bicycle a little bit this winter.
Yeah, that's not surprising to hear you're able to do that. I was just looking up the stats, and we're coming off of the 7th warmest January on record. And for the month of February to date, we are the 5th warmest February on record. So it's been a very mild winter, and we've actually only had about 8 days total since the beginning of January that have come in below normal. So the vast majority of the new year so far has been above normal, and that's actually led to quite a bit lower Great Lakes ice levels.
Well, and I have this story that I keep working on. I keep wanting to call the Oakland County Sheriff about talking about when we have safe ice on Orchard Lake and Sylvan Lake and Cass Lake. And I don't think we're ever getting there. I mean, we get some cold weather, we see some ice cover, and then it warms up, and locally we've not had much ice. But then you take a look at the Great Lakes and not having much ice cover. First of all, from what I understand, we have less ice cover in the Great Lakes than we've had virtually over most of recorded history. This is one of the least ice packs, if you will, that we've had during the winter in the history of the state.
Yeah, that's right. As of yesterday, our total ice cover over the Great Lakes is about 6%. And typically our peak in the ice season would be from mid-February till mid-March. So right now is kind of where we would expect the peak of the ice cover to be, and we're sitting at 6%, which is the basic lowest part we've ever been since the 70s when they started keeping track of this stuff. So typically this time of year, we'd see about 40% coverage compared to the 6% we're sitting at right now.
Well, I'm not going to get into a political debate as to why that is. We'll save that conversation for when we have a whole lot more time. But let's just take a look at the reality of that. So does that mean, without that ice cover, does that mean as this weather moves over and we get these big winds over the Great Lakes, that we're going to be getting more moisture off the Great Lakes and lake effect moisture off the Great Lakes than we normally would?
Yeah, yep, that's possible. Usually this time of year, the lakes are frozen over, and what we say is that shuts off the lake effect machine. So while we have the open water, there's always that chance for some additional moisture coming in from the Great Lakes. But what's interesting about this coming event tomorrow is that since we have the open lake, we're going to have northeast winds coming off the lake, and that's actually going to warm the air just a bit and is leading to slightly lower ice totals than we would probably see if the lake was frozen. So if the lake was frozen, that cold air would come right in from Canada, and it would lead to a lot more freezing rain. But since we're still open water, relatively warmer, we're going to see a slight moderation of the air, and that's going to cut into our ice totals.
I'm still not going to jump in Lake Michigan at Charlevoix this weekend because I'm sure it's going to be pretty cold. But if all that moisture is coming off the lakes, the other big concern as we head into summer is our lake levels. And if that moisture is coming off and we're not getting quite as much, general system precipitation here, I mean, I don't know what I'm talking about, but my wild guess is that is going to impact lake levels. And at least from this winter, they might go down a little bit. Is that what you're expecting?
Yeah, so typically the part of the year where the lake levels start coming down would be in the fall and into the winter, and then in the spring we'll usually see them start coming back up once we get into a wetter pattern. So with this year, since the lakes have stayed open, there's been more evaporation through the year, and that's actually kept our lake levels right around average. Coming off the highs we had a couple years ago, we've had plenty of water left to give, I guess. So despite the enhanced evaporation this year, we're actually sitting right around normal lake levels.
All right, well, that is good because you're right. We've had a lot of erosion and a lot of problems. People are rebuilding their docks, all kinds of issues as a result of the high water levels. So maybe from that standpoint, this is a good thing. Any final thoughts about this weather pattern heading our way?
Yeah, just keep an eye on the forecast. Like I said, we've got a lot of moving parts today to figure out where that 32-degree line is going to be, where it's going to be rain versus freezing rain versus sleet. Could be all at once. Could be, someone gets all ice, someone gets all sleet. So there's a lot of moving parts left. So keep an eye on the latest updates from us and the media, and just take it easy on the roads tomorrow and into Thursday morning.
All right, Trent, when I want weather, I just go out and I Google National Weather Service White Lake, and I get these maps that we've been showing and more information. You can sit there all day and look at this stuff. It's a lot of fun. Thanks for all the hard work you guys do, and I've been in your office, and you've always been so hospitable. I got to make another trip up and see you guys and bring a camera or two with me, and it's always a lot of fun. Good to talk with you this morning. Thanks for your
Yeah, you
time.
too. Sure. Take care.